I think it has been good timing, and that is something to be grateful for. And I think the project generally is something that we can be grateful for. I am in general agreement with our town manager, who has more than once made the case for how this may be that perfect project for government. When the private sector doesn't offer a solution, and when a profit motive can't be found, government performs an invaluable, a unique service, and probably does it best when they take on a project of this magnitude. We're preserving an historic building, and we're doing it with green building techniques. And I hope that in the end that it is everything that we have aspired to. And I want to reassure members of staff, and I see at least 4 here today, that some of your biggest fans are here on council. But good fans are created with good information. And when we don't have good information, it becomes impossible for us to be on board. And I want to be more specific about that. It's been about a month since we were first told that the flooding took place. And this weekend was a festival weekend. And so lots of us were out, and lots of town people were out. And I received at least 2 inquiries from people who wanted to know about this promising project. And because I did not have good information in the last month, my only choice was to be reactive to the situation, and so I went and I did some homework. And I have walked the perimeter of the building, and I've seen the cuts, and I've smelled the petroleum, which is something I'd like to ask you about. I learned about this project that previous owners were very candid about the flooding problems that the building had. I learned that members of town staff were aware of it and voiced their opinion that there ought to be a sump pump from the beginning. And at least one member of staff said that in writing. And so I'm left feeling concerned about our communication generally, also wishing to visit this with you and your staff further, because I think there's much that we could learn about that decision-making process and just unpack events of the last year. Can you tell me that whether or not the fumes that you can smell there now, will they also need to be remediated? Will there be the equivalent of a radon system installed?
There is a radon system designed that has not been installed because when the floor is closed, the fumes are not present in the building. The biggest risk for the fumes in the building is open conduit, open avenues from below the slab to into the building.
So the fumes arrived when you made your cuts?
Cut the floor, right.
So it's anticipated that will just be a non-issue once the permanent sump pump is in place?
It is, and that is what we did experience prior in project.
As near as I can tell, equipment and help has been on the scene for almost a month now. Do we have a ballpark figure for what this will cost?
I am still collecting the costs. I don't have a final figure. We also have savings in our historic tax credit budgeted costs that we're still evaluating. I don't yet know whether they're offsetting or not.
Did you say something, Steve?
Yeah, I just, Leslie and I have talked about this a little bit about, just sharing the information, and I've talked to, the town manager also this week, and, that, we will try to do a better job, I think, of sharing information and making sure that, we're conveying what's happening with that project and other projects. I think, there's a lot of things that we've learned through this whole project, and that's one of them. And also, I wanted to, the sump pump, we had in the design, a sump pump was originally planned into the building, but we also, there's a decision that was made through the process, and it was a collective decision that we weren't going to put the sump pump in because, we thought that with some of the other improvements to the building, that we would prevent the water from coming into the building and that we wouldn't have leakage. So while water obviously has come into the building, and it's actually come in a number of times when we plug leaks or patch leaks. With the rains in May, that was kind of okay. We've done as much as we can for trying to prevent water from coming in, so it's still coming in. So that's when we decided to put the sump pump in.
Yeah, I'd like to address that one further too. Because of the petroleum contamination under the building, anything you pump out must be treated. And that was one of the reasons why we designed the sump pump system and the treatment system. And we did not proceed with it because once the lowest level, the elevator slab at that time, was closed in, we didn't have a continuation of water. But we left the area open for the sump pump. We left the plumbing open for the sump pump. Where we have now installed the sump pump is not the same location where the other would have been. It's about 10 feet, 15 feet shifted. And so where we have the sump pump now is where the aggregate is where the water is collecting. We also are proceeding now with a better filter system than was originally proposed, one that is less maintenance intensive. So, as Steve mentioned, there were a number of factors that came together, and we did have a lot of consultation internally and externally. When we got to that point, it was a collective decision not to proceed, but to keep our options open. And with the benefit of hindsight, I will say that, yes, we are now installing a sump pump, but I think in a more effective place and way than that which we knew 6 months ago.
So we've tried to be, cautious and prudent as we go through the process, and remembering, that, and as I've learned, working with an older building and with how construction, is done here today versus the way it was done many years ago, there's things that you anticipate, but you just don't know the severity of it, and so you try to weigh your risk factors.
I guess I want to reemphasize, there is no dearth of talent on our staff, and I am grateful for the work that you all do. But I do invite this greater level of accountability and the communication that you're recommending.
Yeah, and one thing too, we'll get some costs as soon as we've got some numbers together. We'll make sure that gets communicated to council either through a manager notes item or work session or regular meeting. As soon as we have something, we'll get to you.